anyway, now I'll try to come back to it. But our mind cannot remain satisfied. Okay, so all that imagination, all that was earlier. 400 pages, 400, this is 500. But our mind cannot remain satisfied. The mind of Buddhism itself did not remain satisfied. Satisfied with what? Satisfied with the illusion of the world. Okay, you see the physical world as unreal, and you want to go to the that which is real, the nirvana experience of the subtlest reality. But our mind cannot remain satisfied. Maybe your the self will be satisfied, I am in peace and calm, but the physical mind, in the normal human mind, cannot remain satisfied. And he's saying even Buddhism itself did not remain satisfied with this evasion at the very root of the whole matter. Why is he saying that Buddhism did not remain satisfied? Because there are two schools of Buddhism. Okay, one is the Hinayana, where they accept that the physical world is unreal and the individual aim of life is to escape and go to the reality. Okay, that's the. But there is a Mahayana, and the Mahayana is no, you can't leave the physical world. There is so much of suffering there. You must help others. So charity, humanism, kindness, all these things are there in the Mahayana. That's what Sridhar is mentioning here in a different way. With this evasion at the very root of the whole matter. The evasion is escape from the physical world. You are avoiding the physical world. You are evading the physical world. In the first place, Yasmin, thank you for course correction. Otherwise, we would have been talking uselessly.
No, I was very confused. I thought because I was absent, something happened, or
No.
I definitely wrote in my book. So
Yeah. Others also should have reminded me. But anyway, okay, now it's clear. Okay. In the first place, these philosophies, while thus putting aside the root question, do actually make far-reaching assertions that assume not only a certain operation and symptoms, but a certain fundamental nature of the ignorance from which their prescription of remedies proceeds. Okay, I'll finish the sentence and then we'll come back to it. And it is obvious that without such a radical diagnosis, no prescription of remedies can be anything but an empiric dealing. Empiric means practical dealing. Okay, so let's see what he's saying. In the first place, okay, these philosophies, which philosophies is talking about? The philosophies of Mayavada, the one who say that the physical world is unreal. So these philosophies, while putting aside this root question, which is the root question? Whether the physical world is real or not. There is a reality, but it is not in the physical world. This is the real root question. Actually, they do actually make far-reaching assertions that assume not only a certain operation and symptoms, but a certain fundamental nature of the ignorance from which their prescription of remedies proceeds. In other words, if it's a total unreality, then there's nothing you can do about it. But these philosophies are finding a prescription of remedies. In other words, what do you do when you are in the ignorance? Okay, you can cure it by some method. Suppose you have an illness, it's very similar to if you have an illness, then you find out the cause of the illness and then you make a remedy for it. But if the illness itself is an unreality, you can't even examine it. So Sridhar is saying these far philosophies, they do tell you, concentrate, do this, there is a way of yoga. So in other words, there is some reality to this so-called illusion. That's what he's pointing out. Okay, it's very interesting what he's saying. Suppose there is the illness example is a very good one to understand what he's saying. Suppose you have a problem with your health. You go to the doctor. The doctor will see what the illness is. And if the illness itself is non-existent, you can't do anything about it. So, but if there is some reality to the illness, you find out what it is and then you find a cure for it. So he is saying that these philosophies of Mayavada, which are on the one hand saying that there is no reality to the physical world, yet they are telling you how to escape from this unreality. So if you are escaping from the unreality, there is some reality to the so-called unreality. That's what Shruti is pointing out. Do actually, the language is very clear, do actually make far-reaching assertions. Far-reaching assertions because there is some reality to this so-called unreality. Far-reaching assertions that assume not only a certain operation and symptoms. What are the symptoms of your illness? Okay, in the spiritual world, you are suffering, you have disease, there is shortness of the incapacity. These are the symptoms. So how do you get rid of them? By prescription of remedies. And what are the remedies for the spiritual? For the medicine, their remedies are well known. Okay, if you have this, you take this. If you have this, you take this. But in the spiritual world, if you have ignorance and you are suffering and pain, what is the remedy? Yoga. So there are definite yogas which are prescribed. And it is obvious that without such a radical diagnosis, no prescription of remedies can be anything but an empiric relief. Okay. If the world is really unreal and your suffering is unreal, there's no question of any remedy. That's what he's saying. But if we are to evade the root question, we have no means of judging whether the assertions advanced are correct or the remedies prescribed the right ones, or whether there are not others which, without being so violent, destructively radical, or of the nature of a surgical mutilation or extinction. Okay, where is it gone? Yeah. Yeah. But if we are to avoid the root question, we have no means of judging whether the assertions advanced are correct or the remedies prescribed the right ones, or whether there are not others which, without being so violent, destructive, radical, or of the nature of a surgical mutilation and extinction. Even Sridhar is using the medical image. Okay, it's very interesting. Surgical mutilation or extinction of the patient may yet bring a more integral and natural cure. It's a very interesting sentence. Surgical mutilation or extinction of the patient. So let's see what he's saying. Okay. So I think what he's saying is really, you can understand very well by the illness image. Okay. So what he's saying is, if you have an illness, in the spiritual field, you are suffering, there is pain. But in the medical field, you have an illness, okay? You have a pain somewhere and you go to a doctor. Now, if that pain itself is non-existent, the doctor can do nothing at all. I don't know what you're suffering. But if there is some reality to that illness, okay, then you find a cure for it. Now, Sridhar is saying, the problem is the ignorance. Now let us see what the ignorance is. It real or unreal? And if it is real, we must find out the cause of it. Just as in medicine, if I have a diabetes, I must find out why diabetes is coming, and I have to find a remedy for it. And you do find a remedy for it. And is there a better remedy? That's what Sridhar is asking. So others are saying escape from the physical world. So they're saying, can there be a better remedy? Like for instance, cancer. Okay, you surgical operation and you remove the cancerous part. But Sridhar is asking, is there a better method? Can we cure the cancer without surgery and without even extinction of the of the patient? Okay. In the spiritual field, the extinction of the patient is your individuality disappears. You are no more an individual. You have become the universal. Okay. So this is what he's saying. I think it's, with the image of the illness, it becomes very clear what he's saying. Okay. So he's saying, let us examine. The whole chapter is knowledge and the ignorance. If ignorance is really unreal, like the Mayavadins are saying, then there is no cure for it. But if there is some reality to it, let us examine what the nature of the ignorance is, and we will find a cure for it. And he said earlier in one very interesting sentence, you must find out suppose you have an enemy, you must find out what is the nature of the enemy. If you don't know what the nature of the enemy is, how will you conquer him? But if you know his nature and you find his weak points, you can conquer him. Similarly, when we have ignorance, let us examine what this ignorance is all about. Then we can suggest a solution. Some people may suggest a solution, but is that the only solution? Again, I go back to the image of the medicine, okay? So, illness is cancer is there, and the first reaction was, let's cut out the cancer, okay? Surgical mutilation. In the spiritual field, the surgical mutilation is get rid of the physical world. You are cutting the physical world out, okay? But now Sri is saying, is there a better method? Now they have found out that radiation is a better method, okay? Without cutting you out. Then there is another thing. Can there be something even better than radiation? Because radiation is going to make you lose all your hair and everything. So, but is there a better method? In fact, there is a spiritual method simply by vibrations of a guru, and if you are receptive, it can be cured. The famous case of that, Anita Moorjani, okay? It's a very interesting video. Anita Moorjani, you get a 45 minutes video of how she got cured, almost on the point of death, and she got cured, okay? By last stages of cancer, and she got cured. So, Srinivas is saying that's exactly what. Let us examine what this ignorance is all about. How is it coming about? Then we can find a solution for it, and a better solution than what is being given. The better solution, Mayavadin and Buddhism saying, get rid of the physical world. But Srinivas is saying, wait. I don't want to use surgery. I'll use a better method. Okay? I accept the physical world, and through it only I'll find out how to get rid of it. This is what he's saying. So, more natural cure may yet bring about a more integral and natural cure. It's clear, na? The image of the illness and the spiritual problem of ignorance he is compared very well. In fact, he himself has used the word surgical mutilation or extinction of the patient. Okay. Secondly, it is always the business of man, the thinker, to know. Since God has given you a mind, there must be a purpose to it, and you must think. You must use the mind to think. He may not be able by mental means to know the essentiality of this ignorance or of anything in the universe in the sense of defining it, because the mind can only know things in that sense by their signs, characters, forms, properties, functionings, relations to other things, not in their occult self-being and essence. Our mind is an instrument of semi-ignorance and semi-knowledge. So we have to make use of it. It's true that we can't know perfectly what it is. Essentiality we may not be able to know, but we can know some signs, characters, forms, properties, functionings, relations to other things that we can know. Not in their occult self-being and essence. The mind cannot know essentially the nature of the ignorance. But we can pursue farther and farther, clarify more and more accurately our observation of the phenomenal character and operation of the ignorance until we get to the right revealing word, the right indicating sense of the thing, and so come to know it, not by intellect, but by vision and experience. The mind is not the ultimate instrument of knowledge. There are better instruments. So if we try hard enough, we will be able to go to the subtler. He's saying we can know by vision and experience. It is superior to the mind, and by that we'll know the character of the ignorance, and then we'll be able to deal with it by realizing the truth in our own being. The whole process of man's highest intellectual knowledge is through this mental manipulation and discrimination to the point where the veil is broken. the veil that gives you the ignorance. And he can see, okay? If there's a veil, you can't see. But we know that, huh? The veil reminds me of two things. Your mind is veiled off from the truth by the lid of the mind, and your vital is veiled off from the truth inwardly by your emotions and thoughts and movements and lack of samatha. So the veil has to be removed, and if your veil is removed, then you will be able to see. And what is veil? Get rid of your emotions by samatha. You will come to know something of the reality of the ignorance. Get rid of your thoughts, then the lid over the mind will disappear, and you will be able to see the nature of the ignorance. That's what he's saying. Then we can deal with it, and he can see. At the end, spiritual knowledge comes in to help us to become what we see, so, and enter into the light in which there is no ignorance. So we have to examine the ignorance and see its nature and see whether the solution being given by others is valid or not. And if it is valid also, is there a better method? That's what he's saying. Okay, so I'll summarize the whole paragraph for you. We've got 15 minutes more. We can read the next one also, but I'll first summarize what he's saying here. Okay. But the mind of man cannot be satisfied because his thirst for knowledge is infinite, as is proved by his efforts in science. Secondly, the main feature of man is his mind, and so it is his business to know and understand. You can't dismiss it very casually. Besides, when the others are giving solutions to the problem of suffering, which are valid in themselves, we must find out if these solutions are legitimate, and that can be done only if we know a problem. Okay? A solution is possible only if we know what the problem really is. Again, we must see whether a better or a more satisfying solution is possible. So two things. First of all, whether what the others are saying is real, true, and is there a better method? Of course, the true solution may be beyond the mind in spiritual experience, by sight, intuition, identification. Yes, we have to go through the mind. We have to go through the mind to arrive at better solutions. That's exactly what he said. So that completes the paragraph. So just 1 second. Again, my computer is, yeah. So the next paragraph is a very small one. It is true. Okay. So
Shall I read it?
yes, please. Yes, please.
It is true that the first origin of the ignorance is beyond us as mental beings, because our intelligence lives and moves within the ignorance itself and does not reach up to the point or ascend onto the plane where that separation took place, of which the individual mind is the result. But this is true of the first origin and fundamental truth of all things, and on this principle we should have to rest satisfied with a general agnosticism. Man has to work in the ignorance, to learn under its conditions, to know it up to its furthest point, so that he may arrive at its borders where it meets the truth, touch its final lid of luminous obscuration, and develop the faculties which enable him to overstep that powerful but really unsubstantial barrier.
Yeah. Okay. Very small para, but interesting. What he's saying, we'll have to identify the word. Luminous obscuration. What is that? Unsubstantial barrier. What is that? We'll have a look. It is true that the first origin of the ignorance is beyond us. So I'll make it very clear. We'll go beyond the words. Which is the first origin of the ignorance? Srinagar said elsewhere that it is the overmind consciousness. Are we capable of reaching the overmind consciousness? No, not immediately. But possibility is there. So we have to go right to there. But right now we can't go. Okay. So it is beyond us. That's what he's saying. It is true that the first origin of the ignorance. So replace first origin of the ignorance by the overmind. Then become very clear. Is beyond us as mental beings. So long as we are mental beings, the overmind consciousness is not available to us because our intelligence lives and moves within the ignorance. And which is the ignorance? Mind, life, body. We are in that lower, the level 1. Okay, so we can't because our intelligence lives and moves within the ignorance itself and does not reach up to the point or ascend onto the plane where that separation took place, of which the individual mind is a result. There is a separation that happened. Separation of what from what? Separation of Satchidananda from the physical world. It has separated itself. The one has become the many. And this starts at the overmind level, just below the supermind. Okay, so it does not reach up to that point. We cannot normally go there if you are identified with your body mind life. So, but this is true of first origin and fundamental truth of all things. Okay? But this is true of the first origin and fundamental truth of all things. And on this principle, we should have to rest satisfied with a general agnosticism. So, the first origin and the fundamental truth of all things, we have to, if we are in the physical world, then we have to rest satisfied with general agnosticism. That means we don't know. The mind cannot know the truth. This is the fact. Okay. All the Upanishads also go on stressing that. Na? They say, Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha, which means that the mind goes there and comes back without getting the truth. The mind cannot go beyond a certain point. Okay, so ignorance, if you are in the ignorance and identified with your body, mind, life, you can never know the truth. That's what it's saying, and we have to be satisfied with agnosticism. Agnosticism, I can't do anything about it, but I cannot know it. Man has to work in the ignorance, but he has to work. He has to learn under its conditions to know it, not to its farthest point, so that he may arrive at its borders where it meets the truth. So, mind is going right from the physical mind right up to the super mind. This mind principle is there everywhere. So service to learn its condition, to know its up to its farthest point. Farthest point is the overmind. So that we may arrive at its borders. The border between the supermind and the overmind. Okay. I am giving you very because elsewhere he has explained. Okay. The border is between the overmind and supermind. Between level 2 and level 3. Level 3 is supermind, level 2 is the spiritual planes of consciousness. Where it meets the truth, it can touch its final lid of luminous obscuration. Now look at that, luminous obscuration. It's an obscuration, but it is luminous. So very clearly, this is the overmind level of consciousness. Because that overmind level of consciousness is very high spiritual truth you can get. Yet it is the first step of the ignorance. Okay. So luminous obscuration. As I told you, Srinagar is very, very fond of oxymorons. Okay. Seemingly opposite words, but it's so meaningful. Okay. So this is what the golden lid of the overmind. This is what he's talking about, the luminous obscuration. And if you remember, Mother, 1956, 29th February, she had a form as large as the universe, and she had a golden hammer in her hand, and she broke the golden lid, and the golden light started pouring down into the physical world. Even now it is pouring down. We are not conscious of it. But its effects are slowly being seen everywhere. First of all, there is a chaos and a lot of confusion. And that confusion we are seeing in the physical world today after 50, 60 years. 1956, so that's 44 years, and then 22, 23 years more. So 41st minute, about 75 years. The supermind is going on coming down, but it is taking so long to become apparent. It has not yet become fully apparent. Partly apparent, yes. Children are being born with special powers, okay, tremendous powers, and all sorts of things are happening. So that's the final lid of the luminous obscuration and develop the faculties. What are the faculties? Sight, identification, intuition. These are the faculties which you can develop there. You can't develop it here, which enable him to overstep that powerful but really unsubstantial barrier. So, which is the unsubstantial barrier? Again, the same thing. Again, the overmind consciousness. It's a barrier, but it is unsubstantial. Why? Because Sri Aurobindo says that the overmind is very similar to the supermind, but it is divided by a transparent veil. This is what he says elsewhere. Okay, he is using different words. It's a barrier, but it's unsubstantial. It can be broken very easily. It's like a cross curtain. I can just tear it. Okay. Once you go to the overmind level, it is not that difficult to cross over to the supermind, or at least have experiences. So, and also unsubstantial barrier also is an oxymoron. Almost opposite terms. It's a barrier, but it can be easily broken. It's not that substantial a barrier. Okay. 28. We still have 7-8 minutes. Okay. So we can read one more paragraph. So
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
You know, the way you describe this, it seems as if overmind and supermind have this flimsy barrier, and it's very easy to jump from one to the other.
Yes.
But Amal once asked Sri Aurobindo, what is the distance between the overmind and supermind? And he said the same distance between the earth and the stars.
Yeah. But that distance also is empty air. So that's what he means by unsubstantial. Yeah. So there is a big difference. But at the same time, he says that it is not that difficult. Okay. There is a barrier. And he says something very interesting. He says, between the normal mind of man and the level 2, the spiritual planes of consciousness, between the higher mind and the lower mind, which is our mind, the veil is thick and obscure. But the veil between the supermind and the overmind is not thick and it is not obscure, it is luminous. Okay, so there is the difference. So it is true that in terms of, it depends on how you're putting it. So it is true. Our, the vast difference is there. That is there. At the same time, to the one who has gone to the overmind level, okay, it can be done. That's what he pointed out. Very clearly, he has mentioned that the jump from the normal mind of man to the higher mind, which is level 2, is quite difficult. It takes a long time. You have to silence your mind. You have to make yourself absolutely objective. There should be samatha. There should be silence in the mind. So it's difficult. But, and the veil is very thick. But there, the veil is transparent. There is a veil, but sorry, he doesn't say transparent. He says translucent. That's interesting. The difference between transparent is like a glass. I can clearly see through the glass. But translucent means light is coming through, but images are not coming through. Like nowadays, you have many window panes which are translucent. They are rough and you can't see image clearly outside, but the light is coming through. That's what he means by unsubstantial barrier and luminous obscuration. Okay? So they got 4 minutes. Would you like to do the next one also?
Next one is the big para. We can do it tomorrow or?
Yeah, we can do it. Yeah, oh yes, it's quite big. Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow. Okay. So Suki, note down. We have then to synchronize. Yeah, we'll have to do it from there.
Yes.
I'll make a
Okay.
note.
Merci beaucoup.
Au revoir, everybody. Au revoir.
Bye.
Have a nice day.